Vaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Happy Ekadashi, Utpanna Ekadashi to everyone who are fasting today, because today on Mahadvadashi is the fasting day for the Utpanna Ekadashi. And we are going to begin chapter 12, one of the very sweetest chapters. It's entitled Devotional Service, and it's only got 20 verses altogether. And this is the last of the very, very important chapters of Bhagavad Gita. Not that other chapters are not important, but chapters 7 to 12, Krishna has been telling us all about himself. Now Krishna, through his own words, is going to elaborate us the devotional service, what it means and how it can be performed by us for Lord Krishna. So the verses 1 to 7, it's about the worship of Krishna, Krishna's personal forms. First verse. Evam satata yuktaye bhaktastvam paryupasate ye chapyaksharam vyaktam tesham ki yoga vittama. Arjun inquired, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? Verse 2. Maya veshya mano ye mam nityayukta upasate shraddhya paryote patasate me yuktatama mataha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect. Verses 3 and 4, they are together, given together one after the other. Ye tvaksharam nirdeshya vyaktam paryupasate sarvatragam chintayam cha kutastham chalam dhruvam sanniyam me indriye gramam sarvatra samabuddhayah te prapnuvanti mameva sarvabhuta hite rataha. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me. Verse 5. Klesho dhikata raste sham vyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham deha vadi bharvapyate. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. Verses 6 and 7. Ye tu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananyenaivar yogena mama dhyayantu pasate teshamaham samriddharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavamina chirat partha maya veshita chetasam. But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pritha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So in chapter 12, we will try to discuss the devotional service, and we are going to cover the first 7 verses today. In the first verse, Krishna is now trying to explain rather elaborate to Arjun the personal, the impersonal, and the universal form and up till now, actually up till chapter 11, Krishna has done that, and also Krishna has described all about the different kinds of devotees, yogis, and Krishna says that the people who transcend the mode of goodness, eventually they start doing the bhakti. In the pure goodness, once they reach, then they start doing the bhakti. Those transcendentalists are of two types, the personal and the impersonal. The personal, they worship the form of Krishna, the two-hand form of Krishna. And the impersonal, they don't worship Krishna as the manifested, as the form. They say that Krishna has got no form, or Krishna is impersonal. That is the way of meditation or devotion. It is actually kind of meditation for them, yeah. And so at least impersonals are better than the atheists. They are doing something. They are not denying that there is no God, but they don't accept the form of the Lord. Earlier on, Prabhupada has been telling us in the purports that in the second chapter especially, that we are not this material body, we are the spark, the soul, the consciousness. And in the 7th chapter, Prabhupada tells us about how we are the part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna tells us this in the 7th chapter. And in 8th chapter, Krishna reminds us again that people who will remember me while quitting their body will attain me. Or whatever they will be thinking at the time of quitting the body, they will receive that form of life in the next birth. And in 6th chapter, remember, Prabhupada was telling us in the purports that Krishna is saying that the best of the yogis is the one who thinks that Krishna is within himself. Well, we have been repeating that again and again, in the form of super soul in ourselves. So that is one of the highest realization, which was at the end of this last chapter, the universal form, to become attached to the personal form of the Lord and to start worshipping Lord in that sweet form. Now, Arjun asked the question from Lord that please make this very clear to me. What is the difference between the personal and the impersonal conception of or kind of thinking of the absolute truth? What's the difference between personal and the impersonal? So in verse 2, Bhagavan is saying that those who fix mind on my personal form are always engaged in worshipping me. They are supposed to be most perfect. Because when we have our minds fixed on some form or something, then it's easier for us to relate and to offer the devotional service to that form. So a devotee who is very much attached to the personal form of the Lord, he'll be sometimes cooking for the Lord, cooking for the bhoga, cooking or shopping or cleaning or trying to earn money so that they can buy food stuff for other paraphernalia for the temple. And so in this way, that person or that devotee is completely engaged in Krishna activities, in keeping his consciousness towards Krishna all the time. So this person is called a person in a total, complete trance or a samadhi. In verses 3 and 4, Krishna is saying that those who worship the unmanifested or the impersonal form, which is, or the formless thinking, those who have got for Krishna that Krishna has got no form, so that kind of worship, that is known as the indirect process, not the direct process, because the worship is not performed for Krishna. It is indirect, or is done by bypassing Krishna as a person. They don't believe that Lord has got the form. Now those people, their goal is also same ultimately, and that goal is Lord Krishna. But after going through many births, after fulfilling that desires of theirs to worship Krishna in impersonal forms, slowly they will come to the realization that no, Lord is two-formed. Personal form is the form which is the form for devotional service. Even the Devi Devatas, they hanker for this form. They want to worship that form. So this is the perfect realization that Lord is the two-handed person who appeared in Vrindavan, in Mathura, in Brajadham. And to know the super soul form which is in the heart of each and every entity, we have to understand that. How do we understand that the super soul is within everyone, and it is present everywhere? Then we will have a equipoised thinking and equipoised vision about everyone, about the world. So how we reach within ourselves to see that super soul, we have to be very much in tune with that, so that we will not be doing a lot of sense gratification. Only then we will be able to concentrate our mind, ourselves, and to reach the super soul. And this is very difficult for any layman or any person in the society. So worshipping the two-hand form is much easier for people. But slowly with the practice, we realize the super soul form of the Lord as well, that it is in there within each of us. And when we try to chant, we try to just concentrate that the Lord sitting in our heart is listening to our chanting. Lord sitting in our heart is watching each and every action of ours, so that when we are by ourselves, we don't indulge in anything wrong. We are just surrendered to Krishna and performing duties for Krishna all the time. In verse 5, Lord further tells Arjun that those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, not the forms feature of the Supreme, they will advance surely, but their advancement will be very, very troublesome. So from Gyan Yoga, Karma Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, then they will go to Bhakti Yoga. But if you understand the Bhakti Yoga, if you want to, you can bypass all these yogas and quickly go to start your devotional service or the Bhakti Yoga. So the Bhakti Yoga accepts the deity worship of Krishna, It's easier for the mind to get fixed into the bodily conception, and the deity worship in the temple, Prabhupada tells us, it's the Sagun worship, for the Lord is represented by the material qualities. So the authorized representation of Lord is in the form of a deity, which is called the Arch Vigraha. And God accepts the service of all through this form of the Arch Vigraha, or the deity form. In Srimad Bhagavatam also we have the surrendering process is called bhakti, has been told, and so we should not take up the troublesome path of reaching Krishna, that is by trying to become self-realized and then try to inch our way towards Krishna. But if we can start our devotional service in the association of the devotees and start serving the form Arch Vigraha, or the Murti form of Bhagwan, then it is much easier for us, and even the our mind is going to be cooperative with us within that realm of bhakti. So the impersonal form is going to be the long route, whereas if you just take up straight to bhakti, then you don't waste your time and you can carry on performing bhakti for Krishna like that. And if we completely are going to avoid thinking about devotional service, that we will say that no, we don't want to perform the devotional service, then there's a very much chance that we will be going towards atheism, or we do not even consider there is any authority or God above us. Even God does not advise us to take up the impersonal route of trying to think and remember Krishna like that. Verses 6 and 7, and Krishna is saying that those who worship me with giving up all their activities and get devoted to me in the one-pointed devotional service, always meditating upon me, O son of Pritha, for them I am swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So it's quite self-explanatory. You can see Bhagwan says that those who will perform their devotional services to me and will be very much devoted to me with single-pointed devotion, attention. O son of Pritha, I am the swift deliverer to them of birth and death. I will deliver them from the birth and death. Just by chanting the Mahamantra, a devotee can deliver themselves. So we have to sacrifice all our sense gratification, all our selfish desires, just like Arjun sacrificed all of those in the battlefield for Krishna, and he was ultimately able to see the universal form of Krishna as well and get all the tips for devotional service from Krishna himself. In Varaha Puran, a verse appears called Nayami Paramam Sthanam Archir Adi Gatim Vina Garuda Skandham Aropya Yathecham Anivaritaha. that a devotee does not need to practice Ashtanga Yoga in order to transfer his soul to the spiritual planets. Just by taking that responsibility for the devotee is taken by the Supreme Lord. Just as a child is completely dependent upon his parents, likewise a devotee is completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. So Lord riding on his Garuda, that the Garuda bird is the carrier of the Lord. So Lord will deliver the devotee sitting on that carrier. He will deliver the devotee from the ocean of birth and death, the ocean of the material existence, the prison house of the material existence. So Yahweh sadhana sampati purushartha chatushyate taya vina tad apnoti naro narayana shraya. That we should not engage in different types of fruitive activities, and instead we should be completely devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead to get all the benefits which people try to derive from the other karma kanda processes, by speculation, by ritual sacrifices, by giving charities, etc. to get some specific advantages from the Lord, or the specific benedictions from the Lord. So chanting of the name for a devotee is the highest devotional service. In the 18th chapter, Bhagavan is going to tell us that Sarvadharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarv Papebhyo Mokshishami Masucha. We have to give up all different kinds of processes of self-realization and simply execute the devotional service in Krishna consciousness. If with our consciousness tied up to the Lord, to Krishna, then there is no need for worrying for even the sins we have done in our past lives, because Lord is going to take full charge of everything of that sort in our lives then. So Krishna is saying the highest perfection of the life is to take the shelter of the Lord Krishna himself. Thank you for joining. We'll be discussing from verses 8 onwards next time. So this sweet chapter is called the chapter of devotional service. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.